So let's start. I see there's already plenty of people here. So I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Yael, marketeer at Doofinder, and I'm joined by my colleague, Joanna.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joanna, and I'm the inbound team leader here at Doofinder.
Okay, and today we are going to talk about 4 ways in which Doofinder improves e-commerce conversion. Because there is a challenge that many online stores face. You're getting traffic on your website, but not enough of the traffic is turning into sales. Shoppers, they land on the site, you can see they're browsing, they're searching for products, and then they end up not buying anything. And a lot of the time, what we see is that it's price or checkout that is blamed, but actually the problem happens before, during the search and discovery phase. So today we are going to talk about how Doofinder improves conversion rates exactly in this phase. But before we start, I'd just like to say, please feel free to leave any questions during the chat in the presentation, and we're going to have some time after the presentation we're going to dedicate some time to answer your questions. So feel free to leave them anytime during the presentation. So most conversion decisions, they don't happen at the checkout. They happen earlier during search and discovery when shoppers are still figuring out if your store has the products they are looking for. So a shopper, when they're on your store, they're basically trying to answer 3 questions. They're trying to know if they can find what they came for, if they can discover the best option for them, and if your store can help them decide which product is the best. If the answer to any of these questions is a no, the shopper will leave the store. So today we're going to look at how Doofinder helps shoppers find the right product, discover great alternatives, and confidently decide which is the best option so they stay in your store and they convert. So let's start with the first part, finding. So there's this moment where a lot of revenue is lost, and we refer to it as the finding gap. For stores, your catalog, it's usually structured like a database. So it contains SKUs, attributes, and very rigid product titles. But shoppers, they tend to search very differently. They tend to search like humans. So they might use a synonym, they might type a word wrong, which happens a lot more than you think it does. And sometimes they might even use another language when they're not aware that your search function only functions in the native language of your store. For example, they might type trainers when they're from the UK instead of sneakers on a US store. If your store can translate the search intent into relevant products immediately, the shopper won't think, oh, the search box doesn't work, I need to try another way to find a product. They will just leave the store and go somewhere else where it's easier. So we're going to talk about how to close this finding gap. Doofinder does this in several ways, with a smart search that bridges the gap between your backend and how shoppers actually search. And this happens through multiple smart features. Let's talk first about autocomplete. Autocomplete guides shoppers towards successful searches. It reduces the amount of typing errors, and it gets them to relevant products much faster. So as you can see here, you only have to type a part of the word or the search query, and it will immediately fill in whatever you're looking for, and even give you very helpful auto suggestions of what the specific product qualities might be that you are looking for as a shopper. Now, the second one, synonyms and language flexibility, because shoppers will say the same thing in very different ways. So for example, in the UK, it's more common to say lead instead of cable oftentimes within the music industry. And with our search, it will still return relevant results. For the next one, spell correction. In e-commerce, you might not know, but about 30% of search queries contain a spelling error. So it's very important that even with a spelling error, you will still return relevant results, because if not, that's a very, very expensive way to lose customers. With Doofinder search, it understands search intent. So it will still return relevant results, even if the product is written wrong in the search box. Now, the next way in which we try to close, or in which our products close the finding gap, is through voice and image search. Because right now, over 60% of global e-commerce traffic comes from mobile devices. People are shopping on the go all the time when they're in the metro, while they're coming back from work, multitasking, or doing like a lot of different activities at the same time. And in these moments, it's not always easy to type a detailed query into a small screen. That's why it's very important to also offer alternative search methods. So voice search allows shoppers to express their intent in voice, so it's hands-free, so they don't have to type, which is ideal when you're on the go. And visual search works a little differently. This is really helpful when a shopper struggles to describe a style or struggles to describe a product. Because, for example, in fashion or in home decor, that whatever's in changes all the time, and people are not always aware of how they are supposed to describe it. With visual search, they're able to upload an image and will immediately get relevant results. So the principle here is super simple. When the search adapts to the shopper and not the other way around, shoppers will stay on the store. And now for search, another very important part. Imagine there's a shopper on your store and they found a product that they're very interested in. The next question becomes, what did they see? And does this help them move towards purchasing the product? Because a lot of the time, search results are just a title and a price, and the shopper still has a lot of work to do. They have to click on the products just to understand the basics, and then maybe they bounce, and then they repeat, and maybe they leave. So it's very important to try and put as much important information already in the search results so people don't have to move between different pages. When these results are enriched with decision signals, everything goes faster. So with Doofinder, you can surface all important product information directly in the search results, such as you can see here, star ratings to build trust, discounts so the shopper immediately sees the value of the product, or an add to cart button so the shopper, when they like a product, don't have to click on the product page and scroll. They are immediately able to just add it to the cart and make the shopping decision so much faster. In this way, the shopper doesn't just find something, you help them feel confident to buy way more quick.
Yeah, and just to put this into context, with two real scenarios, our client, Blue Banana, saw a 16% increase in their conversion rate after optimizing their search with Doofinder, which also helped improve the overall user experience and engagement on their site, boosting their click-through rate to 74%. So this means that their users are finding what they are looking for. Doofinder provided demand insights to better decide what to prioritize and how to present the catalog. I would also like to share another customer story, Found Golf Ball, who had a dense sports catalog with many product variants, making it difficult for customers to quickly find the exact item they needed. By implementing high-precision search, we enabled shoppers to easily locate specific variants. And as a result, search became a major revenue channel for the client, generating up to 40% of their total revenue. Yael, you can now move on with the discovery phase.
Thank you. So as we spoke about Find, the next phase that we will talk about is the discovery phase. One very dangerous moment in shopping is when a client has found a product they like and they think, this comes very close to what I'm looking for, but it's not perfect. If a shopper finds a product that's almost right, they will either completely restart the search, they will refine endlessly, and most likely they'll get a little annoyed and they will leave the store. Here, it is very important to speed up the discovery process before the shopper gets frustrated with your store and leaves. And with more like this, you can exactly do that. It's only one click to keep your shoppers moving. When they hover their mouse over the product they're interested in, a button in the top left corner shows up, which says more results or similar results. And once you click on it, as you can see here, it automatically surfaces products that have very similar attributes. That way, you don't have to send them back to square one. It's very easy for them to refine the results until they find exactly the product they want. Now, so far, we've spoken about how to accelerate the shopping process within the search layer and how to make it easier there. But let's talk about how to do it outside of the search layer. So let's say a customer has clicked on a product. They find a product interesting. They like what they're seeing, but something is still not quite right. Maybe the price, the color, maybe they don't exactly like the style of this specific product. If the only next step is to go back and search again, you're asking them to do a lot of work. And again, you don't want that. This is exactly what Doofinder Recommendations is built for. It's personalized product carousels that keep the journey moving right on the product page. So a maybe can become another strong option instead of a goodbye. So as you can see here, there's different type of logics that you can implement. Similar products show products that have very similar attributes like title, brand, or category. You can choose another logic like visually similar, which is image recognition recommendations for this, but in another way. Or people have also viewed, which is behavior-based recommendations that reflect what other shoppers explored after having viewed this product. So it's a lot more personalized. And what's also very important about these product recommendations is that you can apply filters and a fallback logic. So the carousel, it won't break even when there's not the perfect amount of matches available. So it's always useful, and you always give customers a confident next step. So we've spoken about search. We've spoken about product pages. Let's go one step further. A lot of customers enter from somewhere else, not directly from the search. A lot of the time they might start on your homepage and use the navigation on your website, or they might even directly enter on a category page through Google when they're doing a search for a product. As a matter of fact, about 65 to 70% of people browse via navigation or category pages instead. So the question then becomes, what is it that is showing right at the top of this page? The issue with category pages is they often default to something very generic, like a newest items, or they're listed by price. But that sorting can hide the products that the shopper is actually looking for, and also the products that you want to sell. And with Doofinder category merchandising, that is immediately fixed. This product automatically ranks your products based on what is going to sell best, and you can decide the logic. For example, you can decide that the products that are going to rank will rank high because of their popularity and conversion signals, or you can decide by seasonal or promotional pushes, and you can also exclude out of stock and low priority items. So you make sure that the products on top are always the products people are looking for and will convert well. That way, you will never have a static category page. You get a dynamic one where the right product rises to the top as the conditions around it change. So far, we've focused on helping shoppers find and discover through search, recommendations, and merchandising. But there's another huge group of shoppers that we have not spoken about yet that actually struggle a lot with traditional search. It's the shoppers that don't think in keywords. They don't know the exact product name. They are not sure what category to choose, and they don't want to translate their need in like a perfect query. They want to speak like they would in a store. For example, they want to be able to type out, I need a golf jacket for a light green. That's exactly what the AI assistant is built for. So let's see how it works. With the AI assistant, you're able to type out your query in a sentence, exactly how you'd say it in a store, a physical store. And then you're able to refine your search by explaining under what type of conditions you need this product, what type of price you might want. So here you can see after the second question, the products that show up are changed depending on what you ask for, and they're refined to your specific needs. So the AI assistant lets shoppers describe intent in a very natural language, and it can do a lot of different things. It can interpret the goal and the constraints, such as your budget, the use case, or the style or the size that you need. It can ask follow-up questions to see how it should refine the results next. and help a shopper that way to accelerate the buying process. And it can then surface a short list of relevant products. And this way, the shopper gets a conversation that keeps them moving at all times. Okay. So let's go to the next part that we want to talk about, which is help a shopper decide, which is also the final conversion moment. So let's imagine the shopper has found a promising product, but they're still hesitating. And this happens all the time, right? In a physical store, this is the moment someone would ask a sales associate, what's the difference between these two products? Or is this product good for beginners? Or even more common, if this product doesn't fit me well, can I return it? Now, a lot of the time, it's not so easy in a regular store to get answers to these questions, and it might take a lot of time. Online, our AI assistant plays the role that a shopping assistant would in a store. Our AI assistant can compare products in simple, plain language. It can explain differences that actually matter, and it can instantly answer policy questions about shipping, return, warranty, payment. Basically, any documents you upload into it, the AI assistant can use to provide information to your shoppers. So that could also be about very technical products. It can deliver extremely technical product information, answer questions about that. So instead of forcing the shopper to open a lot of tabs and figure it out alone, the assistant will guide them forward. And now Joanna will tell you a little bit more about that.
Yes. So one of the biggest values with the AI assistant is understanding demand patterns. When users are engaging with the AI assistant, new information surfaces, like questions that reveal how your customers really think before they buy. And as a result, we have seen with our clients that the AI assistant improves conversion rate and reduces friction. For example, we are seeing conversion rates of 5 to 10% among users who engage with the AI assistant. Fewer returns because when customers clearly understand what they are buying before adding it to the cart, well, they return less. And every conversation is a piece of data that tells a story about what your customers want and what they can't find. So, Del, tell us more about how we can optimize.
Of course. So that brings us to the next part and the last part of the drawing that we were speaking about, which is optimize. So we've given a lot of different ways in which Doofinder and its features can help to accelerate the finding, discovering, and the decision process. But it only becomes greater when you can scale all of this. You can only scale if you can measure it. So with Doofinder's insights, you get all the data that you need to scale the operations, that your operations. Insights might show you, for example, what a shopper is searching for and can't find, which searches get traffic but don't convert, where shoppers get stuck. It shows all the search data. It shows a lot of information on recommendations, and also on our AI assistant, it can help you figure out what people are looking for, what gaps there are in your store. So for example, we have 2 examples here to show you how the insights can help you in a quick way and how you can use those insights in a super quick way to improve conversion. So let's first focus on the right, which are no result searches. As you can see, there is within one of the stores using Doofinder. This is a phone case store. People are looking, for example, for Hello Kitty, and they're not seeing any results. With this information, you now know that there's a huge client base looking for Hello Kitty phone cases, and you can either decide to buy these phone cases, make sure you have them in your catalog, and hereby improve your sales, or you can also decide to move them to very similar phone cases you know they might be interested in, hereby accelerating your conversion. Another way in which you can improve your conversions with the data that the analytics show is on the left side. You see the terms people are searching for, and you're able to organize them by, for example, the amount of searches, the CTR, the click position. So here I've organized them by CTR. And you can see how many people searched for a certain product, got product results, but then didn't click on any of those results. And what this tells you is you might have relevant products in your store, you might have products connected to this search, but they're not relevant enough for people to click on them. So the next step for you would be to find products that are more relevant and boost those for this result. So people are immediately presented with something that they're interested in, which improves both your click rate and eventually your sales. So these are just 2 examples, but you have an infinite amount of data that can help you to improve conversions. So instead of guessing what to optimize, you have an actual roadmap. Let's just go very quickly back to the core idea that we started with, which is most online stores, they don't have a traffic problem. They have a conversion problem. And Doofinder fixes this by helping shoppers find faster, discover better options, and help shoppers decide which product works best for them with a lot of confidence. And then we also give you the data and the insights that show exactly what to optimize to improve your conversion rate even more from there. So thank you guys so much. I'd like to also hand it over to Joanna for a last word.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining today. And if you'd like to see how this could work in your own store, we'd be happy to show you in a personalized demo, or you can just sign up directly at doofinder.com and start a 15-day trial. Thank you.
So you can see the URL to request a free demo for your store on this page. And on our website, you also find contact data to ask any questions. Feel so free to ask anything that you haven't been able to ask during this webinar. We hope we've informed you enough, and thank you so much for joining us during this webinar. We'd love to see you again in the next one.